Three, two, one.
Have you ever wondered why you feel the way you feel? Why your brain seems to remember painful moments more than happy ones? Why stress changes the way you think? Why habits become automatic? Or why decisions feel impossible while others happen without even thinking? Here's something that might surprise you. Most of us spend our entire lives living inside the most incredible machine ever created. Yet, no one ever teaches us how it actually works. Welcome back, my beautiful souls, to Becoming with Erica, where we heal out loud, grow through what tried to break us, and become everything God created us to be. Today, we're starting something different. Before we can understand healing, we have to understand what it means to be human. This isn't about mental illness. It isn't about diagnosis. It's about understanding how every single human being was designed to function. Because the more we understand ourselves, the more compassion we can have for others and each other. If this is your first time listening in, hi, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. And I know it's been a few days, had a eventful back-to-back couple of days, but we're back. All right, let's get into it. Humans are built, not random. Let me explain what I mean. Whether you're looking through the lens of neuroscience or through faith, one thing becomes incredibly clear. We are an astonishing complex. Every heartbeat, every thought, every emotion, every memory, every relationship, all of it is possible because countless systems inside our bodies are working together every single second. Our nervous system communicates, our heart circulates blood, our lungs brings in the oxygen, our hormones carry chemical messages, our immune system protects us, our brain is consistently receiving information, making predictions, and helping us navigate the world around us. It's incredible. I mean, some of this is without even thinking. From a biological perspective, the human body reflects an incredibly long history of development and adaptations. From my faith perspective, I also believe we were intentionally created by God with wisdom and purpose. No matter which lens you begin with, the complexity of being human is nothing short of remarkable. You aren't just a brain. You aren't just a body. You aren't just your emotions. You're an entire living system with every part influencing the other. Wrap your mind around that for a second. You're an entire living system with every part influencing the other. Wild. Do you know how incredible every single one of us really is? One of the things that fascinates me most is that we live through both conscious and unconscious processes. Right now, you're consistently listening to my voice, thinking about what I'm saying and deciding whether you agree with me. At the exact same time, your heart is beating without you telling it to. Your lungs are breathing. Your eyes are consistently adjusting. Your brain is filtering a million pieces of information while deciding what deserves your attention. Your body is doing thousands of jobs that you'll never even notice. The awareness that we exist, that we can think about our thoughts, our own thoughts, reflect on our own lives, dream about the future, remember the past, love deeply, and ask questions like, who am I? Is one of the most fascinating parts of being human. I don't think we give ourselves or each other enough credit for how extraordinary it is to be human. Now, I know someone might say, but there are good people and there are bad people. And that's true. Throughout history, we've seen incredible compassion and incredible cruelty. We've witnessed breathtaking acts of love and heartbreaking acts of evil. Understanding how human function isn't about pretending evil doesn't exist. It's about understanding the incredible capacity we've all been given. The capacity to choose, to learn, to grow, to heal, and to become. That's why this journey matters, because the better we understand ourselves, the more grace we can have for ourselves and the more compassion we can extend to others as they navigate their own journey of becoming. Which brings me to the nervous system. Now, let's talk about something that absolutely fascinates me: the nervous system. Think of it as the body's communication network. It's made up of three main parts: your brain, your spinal cord, and that vast network of peripheral nerves, the branch throughout your entire body. Imagine trying to run a company where no one could communicate, no emails, no phones, no meetings, no text messages, one no one knows what anyone else is doing. Nothing would function. That's exactly what life would be like without your nervous system. Every sensation you feel, every movement you make, every emotion you experience, every memory you recall, every decision you make, even every heartbeat is coordinated through the incredible communication network. The moment you touch something hot, your nerves send a message to your spinal cord and the brain. Before you even have time to think about it, your body has already started pulling your hand away. That's how fast the nervous system works. It never clocks out, it never takes a vacation. It works while you're awake, while you're asleep, even while you're listening to this podcast. Now, here's another part that blows my mind. Our brains have changed and become more complex over a very long period of biological history. Some systems are evolutionarily older and are especially important for survival. Others help us process emotion, and the outer region of our brain, especially the frontal area, supports planning, reasoning, creativity, and self control. That's why we can experience something beautiful like love, but also panic when we hear a loud noise. We can dream about the future, yet still instinctively slam on the brakes when a car suddenly pulls out in front of us. Your brain is consistently balancing survival, emotions, and thoughtful decision making. And honestly, I find that incredible. Do you ever just stop and wonder what is actually happening inside me that makes all of this possible? Or am I just the only one who sits around thinking about stuff like this? Because I feel as if we all come to that point in time of our lives where we should just stop and think about what's happening inside me. What's making all this possible? The more I learn about the human brain, the more I'm convinced that understanding how we're designed helps us stop asking, what's wrong with me? And starts asking, how was I designed to work? Isn't that a better feeling? Or even just a better question to ask? Because asking what's wrong with me can spiral out of control into such negative thoughts. But to go into curiosity and ask, how was I designed to work? Doesn't that bring some kind of excitement or, you know, bring you into an awe moment? And I think that's one of the most empowering questions we can ask. Why is this important? Well, let me tell you, because every experience you have is teaching your brain something. Every conversation, every relationship, every success, every disappointment, every challenge, your brain is consistently asking, what should I learn from this? That's what That's because your brain is designed to adapt. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity. That's just a fancy way of saying your brain can change throughout your life. For years, scientists believe that once we become adults, our brain were basically set. Now, we know that's not true. Your brain is always building, strengthening, weakening, and reorganizing connections based on what we repeatedly think, practice, feel, and experience. Think about that for a second. Every book you read changes you. Every conversation teaches you something. Every habit you repeat straightens a pathway. Every relationship influences how you see yourself and others. Even this conversation we're having right now is creating tiny changes inside your brain. Isn't that incredible? Like, that's just wild to me. Now, that doesn't mean one bad day rewires your brain forever. And it doesn't mean one emotional podcast changes your life overnight. Real changes happen through repetition, small choices, daily habits, consistent practice. Little by little, your brain adapts to what you repeatedly experience. And here's why that gives me so much hope. If your brain can learn fear, it can also learn courage. If it can learn shame, it can also learn self compassion. If it can learn unhealthy habits, it can build healthier ones. If it can adapt after pain, it can also adapt through healing. To me, that's what becoming is all about. We aren't trapped by who we've been. We have an incredible God given capacity to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep healing, to keep becoming the person we were created to be. And that's exactly why this podcast is called Becoming with Erika, because becoming isn't about pretending the past never happened. It's about understanding how God designed our minds to grow so we can intentionally so we can intentionally participate in the person we're becoming one chapter at a time. So let's break this down. The memory. Let's talk about the memory. Have you ever wondered why you can remember something that happened 20 years ago, but forget where you put your keys 5 minutes ago? Guilty. That's me, 100%. I have a key fob on my key. I have a fob. No, I'm sorry. That's key fob is for your car. AirTag. Ha, hello. I have an AirTag on my keys because I am constantly asking, where did I put my keys? Seriously, if it wasn't for that, I think I would have wasted more time of my life looking for my keys and probably cancel certain events because sometimes I'm like, how did I even put it there? Like, what convinced me to just leave it in this spot? Like, I would have never looked. But, anyways, yeah, those are me problems. I'm sure a lot of us can relate. Focus, Erica. And there's certain moments seem to be burned into our minds forever. Memory is one of the most fascinating things our brains do. We tend to remember emotionally significant moments because emotions act like a highlighter for our brain. When something makes us feel intense joy, deep fear, overwhelming sadness, or excitement, our brain says, this matters. Don't forget this. That's one of the reasons why traumatic experience can feel unforgettable. Our brain isn't trying to punish us, it is trying to protect us by remembering something it believes that could help us survive in the future. On the other hand, many of our happy memories require intentional attention. Sometimes we have to slow down, reflect, take a picture, journal, or simply pause long enough for our brain to recognize this moment matters too. Here's something else that surprised me when I first learned it. Memory isn't like hitting play on a video recording. Memory is reconstruction. Every time you remember something, your brain rebuilds that memory from different pieces of information. That's why memory can change over time. It also explains why two people can experience the exact same event and remember it differently. Memory influences how we learn, how we solve problems, how we make decisions, and how we interact with the world around us. Have you ever heard of the 4 C's for improving memory? Continuous use, creative imagery, concentration, connecting concepts. The more we actively engage our brains, the stronger those memory pathways can become. Different parts of our brain works together during memory. The hippocampus helps form new memories. The frontal lobe helps us organize, retrieve, and use information. It's another reminder that the brain isn't made up of isolated pieces doing separate jobs. It is an incredible team working together. Now, attention. That brings us to attention. Where attention goes, learning follows. What you consistently pay attention to shapes what your brain remembers. Your attention affects what you hear, what you notice, what you learn, what you practice, and ultimately who you're becoming. Your attention is one of the greatest resource. Like, I don't think we all understand exactly what that means. Your attention is the greatest resource. Protect it because in today's world, everyone is competing for it. Stress. Now, let's talk about stress. Stress isn't bad. In fact, we need stress. Stress is what helped our ancestors survive. When the brain senses danger, it quickly coordinates a response. Your heart beat faster, your breathing changes, your muscle prepares for action, your body's temperature can shift. Stress hormones are released, your body is getting ready to fight, run, or protect itself. Thousands of years ago, the response might have been triggered by a lion chasing you. Today, it might be an unexpected bill, a difficult conversation, an email from your boss, or a phone call in the middle of the night. Here's the interesting part. Your body often responds in a very similar way. Even though the threats are completely different, your brain is still trying to keep you safe. The problem isn't stress itself. The problem is when our stress response stays switched on for days, weeks, or months. That's what we call chronic stress. And over time, chronic stress can affect our thinking, our sleeping, our memories, our emotions, and even our physical health. Understanding stress doesn't mean we'll never feel overwhelmed. It means we can begin recognizing what our brain and body are trying to do and learn healthy ways to help our nervous system return to a calmer state. If memory shapes what we know, attention shapes what we learn, and stress influences how we feel, then how do we actually make decisions? Let's look at what's happening inside the brain every time we choose our next step. Decision making. Every single day, your brain is balancing 3 important questions. Am I safe? Is there a reward? How much energy will this take? Believe it or not, your brain consistently is trying to keep you alive while also trying to help you thrive. Sometimes logic has the louder voice. Sometimes emotion has the louder voice. Most of the time, both are involved. Have you ever noticed the part of you says, this is a great opportunity, while the other part says, yeah, but what if it goes wrong? That's because different parts of your brain are contributing to your decision. Do you remember these two from earlier? The prefrontal cortex and the amygdala? The prefrontal cortex sits right behind your forehead. It's It's heavily involved in planning, reasoning, problem solving, self control, and thinking about long term consequences. I like to think of it as the brain wise planner. Then there's the amygdala. The amygdala helps your brain quickly recognize emotionally important information, especially anything that could signal danger or require an immediate response. Oh my God. It's one of your brain's early warning system. Even knowing they work together, can you guess which one usually reacts first? Yep, the amygdala. And honestly, of course it does. Its job is to ask one question before almost anything else. Am I safe? It reacts in a millisecond because survival can't always wait for a careful analysis. Your prefrontal cortex usually joins the conversation a moment later. It gathers more information, it considers the bigger picture, it asks, is this actually dangerous or does it just feel uncomfortable? That's why when we're overwhelmed, scared, and under a lot of stress, it's often harder to think clearly. Our alarm system is speaking louder than our planner. The beautiful part is, the more we understand our brain, the more we can recognize what's happening inside us. Instead of reacting automatically, we can pause, we can breathe, we can become curious, and we can choose our next step more intentionally. Which consciousness, which brings us to one of the most amazing parts of being human. Consciousness. Consciousness is our awareness of ourselves and the world around us. It's what allows us to think about our own thoughts, to reflect on our own experience, to notice our emotions instead of being controlled by them, to ask questions, to dream, to imagine, to learn, to grow, and to become. One of the greatest God one of the greatest gifts God has given us is this incredible capacity for our self-awareness. That self-awareness creates space between what happens and how we respond, space between emotions and the reaction, space between fear and faith, which makes this so incredibly important. Because the moment you become aware of what's happening inside your mind, you gain the opportunity to choose differently. Maybe not perfectly, maybe not every single time, but intentionally. And sometimes one intentional choice is all it takes to begin changing the direction of your life. I mean, that's what becoming is all about. Not becoming someone you're not, but becoming more aware of who God created you to be and learn to make choices that move you towards the person every single day. But there's behavior. We can't talk about humans without talking about behavior. Behavior is what we can see. Thoughts aren't, emotions aren't, beliefs aren't, motives aren't. Behavior is simply the outward expression of everything happening underneath. All influences. Okay, think of it like an iceberg. The behavior is the small part above the water. Underneath is the surface. Underneath the surface are our thoughts, emotions, memories, beliefs, experience, value, biologically, and environment, all influencing what eventually becomes visible. That's why behavior is never the whole story. If we only judge someone's behavior, we might completely miss what they're carrying underneath, including ourselves. So how are behavior formed? So how so how are so how are behaviors formed? One way psychologists have studied this is through behavioralism, which looks at how our environment influences what we do. Two of the biggest ideas are classical condition and operate conditions. Classical conditions is when our brain learns to connect two things together. For example, If every time your phone rings, it's bad news, eventually your body may tense up before you even answer it. Your brain has learned an association. Operate condition is learning through consequences. If your behavior is rewarded, we're more likely to repeat it. If behavior has unpleasant consequences, we're less likely to repeat it. It's simple terms. Our experience helps shape our behavior. And the behavior we repeat begins to shape us, which brings us to habits. Efficiency. Habits exist to save energy. Your brain loves efficiency. Instead of making hundreds of decisions every single day, it begins to automate repeated behavior. That's actually a gift. Imagine having a continuously think about brushing your teeth, driving your usual route, or tying your shoe every single time. Your brain says, I've done this enough times, I'll take it from here. That's pretty amazing. Until it automates unhealthy patterns, negative self-talk, avoidance, procrastination, reaches for the phone every time you feel uncomfortable, reacts before you pause. Those can become automatic too. But here's the beautiful part. The same brain that learned those habits can learn healthier ones. Every small choice is like casting a vote for the person you're becoming. One choice won't change your life overnight, but repeated choices change the pathway of your brain. And over time, those pathways become your habits. This is one of the reasons I believe so deeply in becoming. If you want to change your life, you have to begin changing your mind. And one of the best ways to do that is by giving your brain new evidence. Not just telling yourself you're becoming more patient, practice patient. Not just saying you're becoming healthier, choose healthy habits. Not just believe you're capable, take one courage step that proves it to yourself. Because every healthy habit becomes evidence. Evidence that you're growing, evidence that you're healing, evidence that you're becoming. Your brain believes what you repeatedly show it. So, show it the life you're building, one habit at a time. Which brings us to, drum roll, please. Let's see, to human development. We're always becoming from infancy to childhood, from adolescence to adulthood, to older adulthood. Every stage shapes us. Every season teaches us. Every experience leaves a mark. And none of us are ever truly finished. But honestly, why would you want to be? Why would you want to stop growing? Why, when we can continue to grow, learn, heal, explore, teach, love, adapt, serve, build, become? To me, that's one of the greatest gifts of being a human. No matter where you've been, no matter what you've been through, you still have the capacity to grow into someone you haven't met yet. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's episode, it's this. For you, my friend, you are not a problem to be solved. You are a human being designed with incredible complexity, resilience, and the capacity to grow. Your brain is consistently adapting, your body is always communicating, your emotions are carrying information, and your story is still being written. The more we understand how we were created, our brain, our body, and through our faith, our God given spirit, the more compassion we can extend to ourselves and to each other. Because understanding creates compassion, and compassion creates space for healing. And becoming isn't about becoming someone else, it's about understanding who you already are, how you've been shaped, and intentionally choosing one day at a time who you're becoming next. If today's episode helped you understand yourself just a little bit better, would you do me a favor? Share it with someone you love, because maybe they're trying to understand themselves too. And if this episode was shared with you, I want you to hear this. You are loved, you matter, and you don't have to have it all figured out to be worthy of love. Thank you for allowing me to be part of your journey. Until next time, my beautiful souls, keep growing, keep learning, keep becoming. I love you. Thank you, and God bless.